Welcome to the Better Together Here podcast with your hosts Devin
and Ashley,
helping you make the most of your time in New York City. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Better Together Here podcast. My name is Devin.
And my name is Ashley.
And in today's episode, we are going to give you 3 Google Maps hacks that are going to make getting around New York City so much easier. When I learned about one of these, it actually kind of blew my mind and makes the whole coming up out of the subway experience way less confusing. So let's get right into it. Most of what we're going to be talking about is an excerpt from our Ultimate NYC Navigation and Transportation Guide. If you have not already, you can download it for free. It is 30 plus pages covering all kinds of topics like getting to and from the airports, how to use the subway, how to use Google Maps, which is what we're going to talk about today, hailing taxis, walking, biking, everything you would want to know about getting around New York City, all for free, all in one convenient guide. If you have not already, go to bettertogetherhere.com, and in the menu there's a button that says NYC Transportation Guide, and you can download it for free. Okay, so we're going to talk about 3 things when it comes to using Google Maps that is just going to make your life a lot easier. Let us have a quick caveat here that some people like using Apple Maps, some people like using Citymapper. There are plenty of navigation apps. We personally have found Google Maps to be pretty accurate, pretty efficient, and pretty easy to use. I'm also just very integrated into the world of Google Maps lists and saving things there. Many of these features that we'll talk about are probably available in some way, shape, or form on other map platforms, but I'm going to kind of walk you through these things from Google Maps specifically. So as you're listening to this episode, this might sound a little weird, but this will actually be really helpful as I'm going to kind of walk you through this. If you wanted to pull out your phone and go open up Google Maps, and I'm going to show you exactly where things are. I'm going to do this based off of Hilton Midtown getting to the World Trade Center. Those are just 2 random places that I chose, but it will give us a good overview of what to expect here. Okay, the first tip that we're going to talk about is live view. Most of us have experienced, you finally get off the subway, you pop up out into the loud, busy, wild streets of New York, and you're like, crap, what direction do I start walking? You know you need to go a few blocks, but you don't know if you should be going uptown or downtown, or you don't know which way uptown or downtown is, and you can't find street signs, and it's dark, and it's chaotic. Enter live view.
First step out of the subway entrance while you're looking at your phone trying to figure out where you're going.
Correct.
Step aside.
When you come up out of the stairs, give people an exit. That is a great note to make, because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to get up out of the subway stairs and there are people blocking the entrance. Just do not do that. Take 10 steps away from the stairs before you do any of this. So again, going off of my example of Hilton Midtown to the World Trade Center, if you were to click on the subway option and then click on one of the public transportation options that are available, for example, the one that says the E-train, 28 minutes roughly, if you click on that, you'll see at the beginning, the walking section, there's a little button that says live view and it has a map icon. When you click on that, what it does is it basically turns your phone into a augmented reality type thing. And you essentially grab the camera, you tilt, and you kind of just pan your camera pointing at different buildings and stores and signs around you. And it's going to tell you exactly where you are based off those things. And it will show you on the screen arrows pointing which direction you should start walking. This is a game changer to not walk 2 blocks the wrong direction and then finally realize and be like, oh crap, we should have gone the other way. Like Ashley said, don't do this at the top of the stairs, because if you're standing there pointing your phone around, people are going to be really frustrated, and rightly so. So live view makes it really easy to know which direction you should start walking. Or even if you're not taking the subway, coming out of the subway, even if you're just kind of turned around and you're like, okay, I'm on 5th Avenue, I need to go to 7th Avenue, I'm not exactly sure which direction to go, live view is going to make that much easier. And that leads us to this episode's New York Know-How. This is from the NYC Basic Tips and Etiquette. It's a New York Times bestseller, little nice book with amazing illustrations written by Nathan W. Pyle. We'll link it in the show notes, but we are pulling this directly from there. And The tip is,
So this is from the book, New York Basic Tips and Etiquette, number 41. If you get up early, the city is yours.
and it's got a great illustration of an expansive New York City street and sidewalks, and there's just one person on it, and she's going for a jog, and there's no one around her. We can attest to this. My favorite time to go to Central Park is Saturday morning around like 8 a.m. because it's empty. There's no one there. It's way less crowded. The streets are less crowded. People are hungover from the night before or out getting breakfast or whatever it is. I know on vacation, a lot of times you're like, I want to sleep in. Totally understandable. We of all people can understand that. But there is a strong argument for if you are wanting to do certain things, like getting out into the city early in the morning makes the experience so much better.
I feel like there's an old saying about an early bird and a worm.
Yeah, what is that?
I think it's the early bird gets the worm.
Which, in this
I think
case,
that tracks.
the worm is not crowded sidewalks.
And the worm is the freshest bagel.
Ooh, that's also a good point. And shorter
the shortest line
lines.
for the freshest bagel.
Because most of the bagel shops probably open at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m.
Probably.
Worth checking, obviously, before you just venture on over at 6 a.m. to a bagel shop only for it to not be open, but much shorter lines.
And in this analogy, you are the bird.
Yes, correct. Just to clarify, you are the bird getting empty New York City streets, the worm.
Well, if you're a bird, I'm a bird.
It's gone very far now.
Got him.
I don't know beyond that. I can't help you anymore. All right, and that is this episode's New York know-how. Okay, back to Google Maps hacks. The second one here, again, if you want to open back up your phone, is when you go to get directions. Usually, like if you're used to just driving, you're just going to look at the car one, but there is the one that looks like a train. If you click on that, it's going to show you a bunch of different options. Like, for example, again, the Hilton Midtown to World Trade Center. Right now, this moment, it's saying there's the E-Train option, or you can take the NQR, transfer to the 4-5. You can take the AC. You can take the NQR to the 2-3. It'll tell you roughly average amounts of time it's going to take and how much walking is involved with each one. But the hack here that a lot of people don't know is right underneath the subway or like the train sign, it will say leave and then whatever time you're currently looking at. If you click on that, it's going to pull up a little dialog box where you can change the time that you're looking at. This is really helpful for when, for example, if you're trying to plan out your route to go home to get back to the airport, to know exactly what time you need to leave to catch a train, especially if you're taking any trains that maybe only come every 10 to 20 minutes. It's nice to have an idea. So instead of it right now saying, the 1:30, if I said, okay, I want to get to the World Trade Center tomorrow, I want to be there at 9 a.m. so that I can be first in line to get into the museum, if that's your thing. You could change it to Sunday, just tomorrow. We're recording on a Saturday, and you can even switch it from the time that you leave to the time that you arrive. So if you said, I want to be at the World Trade Center at 9 a.m., and then you click done, it's going to give you train times that are specific to that. And just by doing that, it actually gave me a different option as to which one is the most efficient. Instead of taking the E, it's telling me that the R would be a little bit more efficient. So this is a nice thing to do, again, especially if you're going somewhere and you're going to be coming home late at night when train times might be different, or you're leaving early, or whatever it might be. It's really helpful to be able to kind of look ahead at what the real train times are going to be when you're going to be doing your travel.
Just to piggyback off that a little bit, for those of you that don't know, early in the morning and late at night, the trains run much less often. So usually throughout the day, middle of the day, afternoon, the trains are coming pretty often, pretty quickly. But if you, for example, are flying out on a red eye and you're leaving late at night, or your flight leaves early at 6 a.m. in the morning, like, you need to make sure that you are looking at your train times ahead of time, because sometimes your train only comes every 20 minutes. So if you miss that subway, you're going to be waiting around. You're going to be stressed.
So that is Google Maps hack number 2, is to look at the different train times. Again, you do that by putting in your route, clicking the train option, and then right underneath it'll instead of the time that you want now, it'll also, you can do the time you want to leave, the time you want to arrive, etc. Extremely helpful thing. And that leads us to this episode's You'll Have to Check It Out segment.
The next stop is
Istanbul Kebab House. Istanbul Kebab House is a kind of hole-in-the-wall spot in Hell's Kitchen. As you can guess, it is Turkish food. When you walk in, it almost looks like a catering type place. Like there's this big, almost like deli style thing. They do a lot of to-go orders, which is part of that. And then there's only maybe 4 or 5 total tables. It's not usually super crowded, so you don't need to worry very often about a reservation. But this place really flies under the radar. It is extremely authentic food, and the portions are massive. Like when you order one of their meat platters or some of their dips, you are getting plenty of it.
When we go there, we love to do I believe it's called the appetizer sampler.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can get like baba ganoush, you can get hummus, you can get their falafel, grape leaves, the eggplant. It's like a spiced eggplant. It's another one of our
tons
favorites.
Of options.
So I definitely would recommend doing like the appetizer sampler. It's a pretty good size. You could share it with 2 people. You could also share it with 6 people. They have a bigger size that you could get if you have more people. And then we also love to get like some type of meat platter. Pro tip, do not eat the pepper. The pepper that comes on that plate, it looks like a little bell pepper or a shishito pepper. Apparently it's only a jalapeno, but I have a pretty high spice tolerance, and I was crying once when I ate a big chunk of it.
I think it's the way that they cook it is like something about it just activates, and if you get the wrong bite, it's just so beyond. It's like 5 times what a normal jalapeno is.
Or they just have a plug for these special Turkish jalapenos that are actually spicy, because
that might be it.
I'm not finding jalapenos like that at my grocery store.
Yeah, me neither. Because I don't go to the grocery store. Because I hate grocery stores.
It's really unassuming, and it looks like it's like grilled, looks like it's cooked in a delicious manner, and it is. But just be warned. Just take a little nibble.
You've been warned. The staff here is always very friendly. We have also liked the Turkish coffee. It comes in these awesome little authentic like Turkish coffee cups. It's hard to even explain. They have these little like covers on them. It's a very like unique kind of authentic experience to.
It's like a little teacup with gold all around it, and then it has like a gold crown that like sits at the top, and you have to like take the crown off before you drink it.
Yeah.
We also really love the baklava there. If you save room for dessert, it's like a little tiny portion, but nice to have a couple bites of dessert.
Yeah. That's Istanbul Kebab House. It's in Hell's Kitchen. It is fairly priced, especially for how big the portions are. And we've always had a good experience there. We've always had a good meal. We've always had friendly staff, and we've always gotten right into a table. So that is this episode's You'll Have to Check It Out segment. And now back to Google Maps hacks.
stand clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, the last one that we're going to talk about is the route filtering and options tab within here. So again, I'm looking at Hilton Midtown to World Trade Center. If you click options, it's kind of on the right-hand side, about a quarter of the way down your screen. If you click options, what it's going to do, it's going to bring up a bunch of different like toggles. So for example, if you are the type of person where for whatever reason you're like, you know what, I don't like taking the buses. They're a little bit more confusing to me. I only want to take the subway. You can come in and toggle off buses. Or if you were like, you know what, subway for whatever reason isn't working, you could turn off all the subways and only show bus routes and just get a little bit more filtered down to what you want to see. Also within this trip options little mini menu, there is a way to kind of filter your routes. You can say by best route, which is in most instances what I leave it on. But there's also fewest transfers and least walking, as also a wheelchair accessible one, which avoids stairs and prefers elevators, which is very important if that is important to you, because not every station in New York City is wheelchair accessible. Very few of them have elevators. And so this is a nice way to be aware of that. So I would recommend, before you come to New York City, putting in your hotel, putting in a few different places that you want to go, and just kind of punching in and looking at the different things that you can do. I know this sounds like a little bit, I don't know. I think back to my life, like growing up, where you had a real paper map in your hand and you had to stop.
Okay, Grandpa, with the paper map.
Okay. And you had to stop at a gas station and your mom would be like, oh, like, why don't you go ask them? And your dad would be like, I know how to get there. Don't worry about it. And then like you'd get lost for 20 minutes. Like I grew up with that. And so this all seems like a little bit overkill to be talking about tips for using Google Maps. But I will say most people coming to New York City, you have a limited amount of time. You're trying to do a lot. You're trying to pack things in, and getting on the wrong train or not knowing how to get around, it just is stressful. It's overwhelming. It makes you frustrated and causes infighting within your group. And no one wants that. Everyone wants to just have a good time. So hopefully these Google Maps hacks are helpful for you. Again, this was all pulled from our Ultimate NYC Navigation and Transportation Guide. It's available on our website, bettertogetherhere.com. It is completely free. Yes, you need to put in your email because, just to be transparent, we want to email you about stuff. We email once a week. That's it. There's no spam. There's no weird things. We're not selling your data. We are emailing you once a week with new articles, new episodes, and tips for exploring New York City. So make sure that you sign up for our newsletter. You automatically become signed up by downloading the guide as well, and you will have a much better experience getting around New York City. If you have not already, also please engage with us on whatever podcast platform you are listening right now. We do this in our spare time. We make very little to no money from this. We also want people to hear about this because we think what we're telling people is helpful. We think it is going to help them have a better experience in New York. And we love New York and we want more people to have a good experience in New York. So you can help us do that and accomplish our goals by engaging with us on the podcast platform. Following, downloading episodes shows the algorithm that you care a lot about it. Leaving a review is extremely, extremely helpful. Leaving ratings wherever you are. And if you have questions about New York, you want us to look at your itinerary, you aren't sure about a certain place to stay or not, send us an email, hello@bettertogetherhere.com, and we will email you back.
I would also add, if you know a friend or a family member that's coming to New York, send them one of our episodes. Send them the free transportation guide. We want to get all this information out to as many people as we can because, again, we love New York City and we want people to also love it.
So thank you for your help in doing that. And other than that, we'll catch you on the next episode.